right, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahweh Shai, Bahashum, Rachahak, Badash, double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. To Ma'ah, Arabayim, Arabai Alat, that's to say 144,000 in the Lashawan Quadash. Okay, that's the number that we are striving to be a part of, all right? To be a part of the elect, the upper echelon of the elect, all right? Abaratazah. So, real quick, as brothers know, you have Trump that did something very telling recently, which you see from here, ABC News. Trump to sign order renaming Pentagon Department of War sources. Okay, so Trump is going to sign an executive order renaming the Pentagon to the Department of War versus the Department of Defense. Okay, because defense and war are two different things. Okay, somebody who defends themselves are not the ones that initiate contact or conflict. You know, defense is more so a conflict resolution. Okay, or you're doing something simply because you're forced to, in which now you have to defend yourself. But people that wage war on others, you know, such as America waging war on other countries, that's America taking the initiative to start those wars and in conflicts. You know, so it says President Donald Trump is expected to sign an executive order Friday renaming the Department of Defense the Department of War, while a White House official and source familiar with the draft of the executive order told ABC News. All right, so there's more to that, but for the sake of me driving, you know, I don't want to be reading too much of that. But hey, that clearly lets you know what time we're in, man. You know, that's a beautiful thing pertaining to what we understand via prophecy. You know, for America, Babylon the Great to be renaming the Department of Defense to the Department of War, knowing the fate of America, that lets you know that prophecy is moving. You know, prophecy is taking place, man. All right, so this is 1 Thessalonians 5. And let me start up at 1, man. It says, "But of the times and seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. Despite certain things taking place in the news within America, like what we're reading about with the renaming of the Department of War, of Department of Defense to the Department of War, the average person can't see what time we living in. All right, they can't see how close we are to the finish line. They can't see how close we are to America's destruction. Okay, to the end of Esau society. All right, and even you know, that pertains to Israelites as well, man. You got a lot of Israelite groups that don't know what's going on, despite them claiming to be illuminated with the truth. You know, but we're not in darkness. Okay, we're not in darkness. We understand what's going on. We understand prophecy. Okay, and we know know that it's only a matter of time before the Most High pulls the curtain on this place. All right, and you got all this peace and safety in the news. A lot of things that's happening in the news, you know, with America in particular, it's not even on the news, man. You can't even find a lot of the shit that's happening to America broadcasted on the news. Okay, the whole tariff situation is a shamble, is in shambles. Okay, and America is suffering because of that, but you don't see that readily in the news. But you'll see something dealing with Iran or Ukraine, something dealing with Israel. Okay. Verse 3, it says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as a thief, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So when the Most High allows, you know, the hell to really come upon this place, all right, he's gonna have these people in that pot like that frog. He's gonna boil these people to the point of complacency, despite everything that they know being bullshit. You know, you wake up, go to work, get paid, broke already, go home, you know, you buy whatever you need to buy, groceries or whatever, and that's a damn fiasco in itself, you know. But these people's mundane, repetitive life, okay, is a nightmare, man. But despite all that, they still think that there's going to be some type of peace and safety that they're eventually going to be able to acquire in that, you know, becoming a normality once again here in America. That's not the case, man. Okay, the days of prosperity, the days of peace and safety, okay, the day of assurance and security, them days are over, man. Those days are over, man. Okay, because of prophecy coming to pass. The prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahushai prophesying these things, and they actually happening. You know, prophecy along with time equals a fulfillment of prophecy. Okay, because the Lord has his prophets prophesy well before these things take place, so that way there's no excuse. Okay. Verse 4, it says, but ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. So we're not blinded like these people you see every day, Israelites included. All right, you got a lot of Israelites that do everything for money, want to be popular, want to make it a popularity contest, you know, grifting people for money, knowingly telling lies. All right, they're just as blind as somebody in the world, man. You got so-called Christians in the world that got more sense than a lot of Israelites, man. Okay, but we hopeful elect are not blinded like everybody else. Okay. Verse 5, it says, ye are the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of night nor of darkness. Okay, so we're not blinded. We don't belong to this world, in other words. All right, we belong to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Verse 6, therefore let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. All right, so we gotta watch, man. Okay, because all these events taking place are was leading up to our salvation. Okay, was leading up to us being able to rest. All right, we still got laborious work to do before we get to rest. All right. Now, there's more to that scripture, but moving on, this is Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. All right, it says, to everything there, of Ecclesiastes 3:1, it says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. All right, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted. Verse 3, it says, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up. It says a time to weep and a time to mourn. So I read that wrong. A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. All right, and this is the time to refrain from embracing. All right, now you embrace the brotherhood, you know, the hopeful elect, men of the Lord, okay, the righteous. But as far as people in the world and, you know, people you just meet, man, fuck them, man. All right, this is not the time to be trying to be buddy and embracing any and everybody. Okay, now's the time to be more so like a hermit. Okay, because this world is evil, man. This world is evil. It says a time to get and a time to lose. Let me see. A time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. And we're at the last little bit of time where the Lord is going to have us speaking. Because when things get real crazy, the Heavenly Father is going to have that famine of the word come about, in which he's going to use Esau, Edom to pretty much bring that about by way of really monitoring and censoring, you know, videos brothers put up, you know, wanting everything to be identified, you know, every video to be identified via your identification, your ID card or something like that, prior to you putting it up on YouTube or something. There's gonna be something crazy that, you know, it's gonna happen to where it's gonna force that famine of the word, man. Okay. Let me see. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence. And a time to speak. Okay. And it's a time to speak now, because like I said, the Lord is going to have us keep silent here in the near future. Okay. It says, and this is the point here, in verse 8. It says, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. All right, that's the point. We're in the time of war. The time of peace is gone, man. Which there's no peace unto the wicked. All right, America is a wicked society. It's a wicked kingdom, and it was never meant to be peaceful. Okay, it was never. The people, the inhabitants of Babylon, have never been at peace, because even amongst your own government, you know, they're polluting everything, feeding you food that you know is destroying your body, you know, so on and so forth. Okay, so the inhabitants of Babylon were never at peace. We're never at peace. Okay. But war is coming, man. war is coming. All right, and you got something I seen in the news. You have Macron, the president of France, that was talking about a potential war with I believe it was Russia. All right, something along the lines of the middle of 2026. Being at war, NATO being at war, because really, NATO is on the brink of collapsing, man. Okay, and the reason why those NATO members, the heads of those NATO members, are still full-fledged ahead with keeping that war going in Ukraine, is because if they fail, there's a lot of bullshit and dirt on those NATO leaders that will be exposed. Okay, it's a lot of bullshit that those NATO leaders have, are involved in, which everybody knows about. But they have to, in order for them to survive their political careers and all that, in order for it to survive, they have to be victorious with what they're doing in Ukraine. And really, the people in Ukraine, the military in Ukraine, they're fighting a lose battle. Okay, and despite them losing as bad as they are, Ukraine is just going through the meat grinder, as a lot of political pundits would say. Okay, and those European leaders in NATO know that, but to save face, they'll gladly continue to use NATO as a proxy war to the last man, just to save face, So war is gonna ramp up, man. And I heard something else that the U.S. really wants to get involved in war. Somewhere, I forget exactly where it was. It was somewhere overseas, but they pretty much got to check in with Israel to do all that, and so on and so forth. But we are definitely in a time of war. Make no mistake about it, man. So, Avaratazai, this has been edifying. I've reached my destination. And until next time, I say shalom.